Hey everybody, it's Phill and Brandon from Zaid Comics, the co-creators of Magic Cop. I guess the creators of Magic Cop, and the best.
There's two of us,
And we're the best looking out of everybody that are brothers in comics. So today we're doing a review for John Wick, the John Wick Parabellum, John Wick 3, the
Chapter
movie.
3.
Chapter 3. It's called Parabellum though, right?
It is called. Well, that's the subtitle.
Alright, we saw it, and it's been out. It knocked out Avengers from being top spot for the last month at the box office, and everybody's raving about it. They say it's the best one. That's what I hear.
I mean, yeah, they say it's the best one. I don't know.
They would be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how they think they're right by saying that. I'm a huge John Wick fan. In fact, you could, if we look in that direction, Phil got me this John Wick figure.
Yeah.
It's a statue.
From Diamond Select Toys.
It's the vinyl one, right? I think.
Sure. PVC.
Oh, the PVC one.
That's why it's so cheap.
Polyvinyl. Yeah, it's awesome. I haven't opened it up yet because there's no room in here to put it anywhere, but I'm going to put it somewhere. And I think John Wick's awesome. I love his attitude, and his personality is super cool. The guy's obviously skillful as hell, which is amazing. And that is probably one of the biggest things that ruin the second and third movie for me. Because I love the first movie. It's one of my favorite movies. I think the setting is amazing with like the club scenes, and the music is awesome. It sets the tone really, really well. The universe gives you kind of a little bit of glimpse of like this underground kind of syndicate organization where like it's something that could exist in the universe that we live in. Yeah, you could be a person who trains so much. You could be the ultimate badass in just a perfect killing machine, and that's something that can exist in this reality. And I thought that was cool because it's maybe this guy's out there, and maybe there is a really cool hotel that he can go to where they accept these gold coins, and he just happens to be the baddest ass of these guys, and everybody knows him and respects him, and that is awesome. Until they bring out the second movie. And the second movie is also awesome. And the third movie is awesome. But for me, in the second movie, when they introduce like the high table and the other assassins, like at the end of the second movie, spoilers, at the end of the second movie, when they're going to hunt John down to kill him, and then they release the text messages to every person on Earth who's an assassin, took away from the exclusivity of there being like this ring of assassins that just goes around killing people. Like everybody's an assassin now.
Yeah, the world building in the first movie is so cool. They did it very well. The story in it is really great. The choreography in the fighting is awesome, and I think that's what made the movie so iconic, is because all that choreography in there hasn't really been done to the extent that John Wick did it in the first movie, and that carries on through the whole trilogy
while making it believable.
Yeah,
that's the part that the first movie did so well, is that it was all believable.
Right. And throughout the whole franchise, the choreography has been top notch, but I think going through the second movie and third movie, the story depletes itself, and them making it more and more less believable on the story aspect. We're having, like Brandon was saying, everyone's an assassin type thing.
In the third movie, like in the first movie, he's the guy. You don't mess with John Wick. That's it. That's all there is to it. And that's just how it is. And then all of a sudden, in the second movie, everybody wants to kill him, even though they all know that they can't. They knew in the first movie nobody could kill this guy. Second movie, all of a sudden everybody's trying to kill him at the end. Third movie, everybody's trying to kill him. And there's an entire secret organization of people that don't respect him, Now, like, where were these people? Why is that possible? You've taken him at the apex of an assassin and you've brought him down to just a little bit above of every other assassin that there is.
Yeah.
And you feel cheated. I feel cheated. The third movie is an excellent movie. It's very entertaining. The sound is awesome. I saw it and I was pressed up against the screen because of a snafu in ticket sales, but I still enjoyed the movie. I've only seen it once, and most notably for me was the sound. The sound effects were really good, but the criticism of, yeah, you're diluting the world by trying to have enemies for John by making them more elevated than him doesn't make any sense. You can't make a god and then be like, well, there's other bigger gods up there, that he has to deal with.
Well, yeah. Well, their theory in that is like, okay, we have this god, and what are you going to throw at him? A bunch of ants that are everywhere.
Right. And that's okay if they're like the first movie did it really, really well because the motivation for the narrative to make its way was believable because that happens. People break into your house and kill you, right? That happens. Not all the time, fortunately, but it does happen. And he survives and, needs to go on a revenge spree. And that's really good. But the further you get into it, I feel like they kind of painted themselves into a corner and went, how do we handle this guy?
Yeah.
Well, we have to just keep throwing wave after wave of our own men until he reaches his kill limit.
Right. Which is infinite.
Which is infinite.
So you brought up the point that the sound was really good in number 3.
Yeah.
And it was like the fighting and the firing of the guns sounded super believable and realistic.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with it is it kind of changed paths where, like in the first movie and the second movie, during the gunfights, you had really cool music going along with it, and it wasn't forced into music that only the spectator of the movie is hearing. It's in the setting that they were in. So in number 3, they don't put that into the movie, which I think is really an iconic thing that the John Wick movies have. Like the first one, you have the shootouts in the club, and it's this really cool, somber club music. And then in the second one, you're in Italy, I think, and they're at that big outdoor DJ concert, and that music's going on during the gunfights throughout the big scenes of the movie. And in this one, you have total silence during the gunfights.
Yeah.
And it was an artistic choice that the director made or the sound guy made to bring across the realistic sounds.
Yeah, because they were like underground now.
Right.
So
they're in the desert.
Yeah,
these
right.
hideouts and stuff. And that's a cool choice. But literally every gunfight scene, it was like that.
Right.
There was no rise and fall in music.
There was one
to
scene
support the scenes.
Because I thought about that when I was watching it, and I was like, well, the shooting sounds sound like actual shooting instead of like this canned shooting that they usually do. And then I was like, oh, there's no music. But there's one scene, it's actually at the end when they're defending the Continental. There's music there that shouldn't be there.
Well, he puts on that classical music. I don't think it's throughout the full length of the shootout, though. I think that ends, and then there might be some new music that starts.
I think I might be mistaken. I'm pretty sure, though, that there's some music that doesn't belong there. That's kind of like, when they throw the violin in there to add a little bit of tension. And I was like, why is this here? It just didn't feel right. But yeah, you're right. The tone is different. It's a completely different movie. It's kind of like The Matrix and then The Matrix 2. It's like they're fun. The Matrix is intellectual and then The Matrix 2 is very action-based. And they're good movies. They're totally two completely different movies.
Yeah.
Uh, except one doesn't destroy the world of the other
Yeah.
one.
I think this third movie, the first like 20 minutes of the movie were awesome. Like
Yeah.
it picks up right
Yeah.
off where the second one ends, where he's running and he gets his dog to the Continental, and then he goes to the library, which I thought was really cool to
Mhm.
get those, his belongings from
hidden
out of the
stuff, yeah.
book. And then that fight scene with the giant is awesome. The really tall guy who uses the
Yeah.
book to kill him.
That's probably one of the best fight scenes
Yeah.
in the whole movie.
Yeah, it's really, really cool and very interesting how choreographing that big
Right,
guy.
and it showed off his innate skill to just kill people. Like you've seen him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil. Here you see him kill one giant guy with a book.
Yeah,
And it's awesome.
yeah, that was very cool. But then you have like the last fight scene with those two midget Asian guys.
That was good too. I really appreciated that scene because that was probably the only time that they referenced the same John Wick. They referenced my John Wick
Yeah,
in that movie, in that scene
mm-hmm.
with those two guys.
His reputation.
Right, because near the end of the movie, he's fighting these two, I don't know, I think brothers or whatever, right? Two Asian guys, and they're kicking his ass because his ass got kicked.
Went through hell.
Like he's 3/4 dead already, and so they're fighting this guy, and they're talking. They're like, "Man, we're fighting John Wick. This is awesome. This is awesome." And they get him to the ground, and they're, "Come on, man, come on, get back up. You're John Wick. This is the coolest thing ever. We want this to last as long as possible." And then, they do it again, and it happens. It goes on and on and on. And then, he ends up besting them, and then doesn't kill them, and says, "Be seeing you." And they were like, "Wow." And then, they just collapsed on the ground. That was awesome. That's from the first movie. That was so cool.
Yeah, those guys are like martial art movie masters. Those two guys. It's super funny because they're so short, and he looks like a giant compared to them, and he's like on his knees and stuff fighting with these guys. It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then the Iron Chef guy, right. Are you all about him? He was like
I enjoyed his character a lot. The polarized like two halves of him was really funny. It was interesting. Like I didn't expect that guy to be in the movie.
Yeah.
Was he in any of the trailers?
I don't know. Because
that guy's not in a lot of movies. Like the last thing I seen him in was in like CSI or something like that, like on TV. But yeah, his polar, like super serious attitude going into him being an assassin, but at the same time also being like John Wick's biggest fan. That was really, really funny. And then the part at when he's at the sushi bar, and then that adjudicator comes, and then he has his like Japanese accent on, and then she's like, "No, I'm here to serve you some papers." He's like, "All right, what's it's just in his American accent, like what's the deal?" That was pretty good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good scenes like that. Yeah, like it is a really good movie.
I think
there's a lot to get out of it.
I think the reason you're not more emotionally vested in the movie is compared to the first movie is Willem Dafoe's character in the first movie is such a great character, and to have that loss and his death scene is amazing, and in movies like that takes the gold for me for the first movie, and you don't have that in the second one or third one.
Well, yeah,
because you don't have really cool characters like that. My favorite of the side characters was Lawrence Fishburne's character.
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome, but you still don't have that deep weight of his
right
death.
When they kill him, you're like, all right, is he like you don't have that. He's so connected to John because you're John in the movie, so like you don't have that like when you had it with Willem Dafoe.
Mhm.
When Willem Dafoe dies in the first movie, it's the beginning of the movie all over again, and it just re-injects you with that passion from the beginning. And you're right, you don't have that connection with Lawrence Fishburne. You don't have that connection with anybody, even with the guy from the Continental. You don't have that because you're like, well, this guy screwed John Wick.
Winston?
Yeah, Winston.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That was weird because I thought Winston did that to get John out of it. Like, oh, I'm gonna fake your death so you don't have to.
Well, I wasn't even talking about that, but like I was talking about when the hammer comes down on Winston, and when the adjudicator comes, you're not like, oh man. Or at least I wasn't. I was like, man, screw
Winston
this adjudicator. That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking. Like, what's her problem? And then with Winston, I was like, well, that guy gets what's coming to him because I'm John Wick. Screw Winston. He just screwed me,
Mhm.
by putting a hit out on me. I don't care what happens. I can go to hell. So, yeah, you're missing that emotion. And then, all right, so at the end, he gets the big battle scene and stuff, and then he plays his hand, and then he kills John. Spoilers. He kills John,
Right.
and then you're like, okay, even though John should be dead, let's be real here. He should be dead, no question. Even if that was the play of, I'm going to help him by getting him out of here, because that would have been the classic movie trope of like, oh, I killed him, but he survived. That's pretty classic. If that's the case, he should be dead. But if that was his hand, the end of the movie's so confusing, but it's not confusing in a good way. It's confusing in like I don't know what happened. But not in the sense of like, man, I got to find out what happened. It's just kind of like, what? How did he survive? What's Winston's angle? And then now what's going to happen with the rest of this stuff,
Yeah, it's just always going to just kill more people with Morgan Freeman. Or not Morgan Freeman, Lawrence Fishburne.
I guess. I liked it when when Lawrence Fishburne wasn't dead at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
He had like his throne. That was cool.
Yeah, he's a cool character.
Obviously now what's going to happen is they're going to go and do he's going to have to kill the High Table, but the whole High Table stuff now is so like it doesn't have any kind of like weight to it anymore.
Mhm.
Like when he needs to get himself back into the game, he needs to talk to the sheik or whatever, right? Like that guy out in the desert.
Yeah, wasn't that the High Table guy?
He's the guy, like
Right.
the pinnacle of the pyramid, right? He's the guy. The only way you find that guy is by walking out into the desert. Nobody would ever do that. Like, especially by some guy who you just met on the top of some building in Morocco for the first time in your whole life. Like, who's going to be like, yeah, let me drive out in the middle of the desert and kill myself and then hope this guy comes and gets me.
It was too theatrical.
Yeah.
The reason John Wick, the first movie, was so good is the same reason kids like Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Because it's you.
Right.
And how do you evoke emotion from a regular human being? You take something that they love. And that's why the first movie's so good. And now John Wick has evolved into this huge, grandiose story about mythologies and stuff like that. It's turning into Assassin's Creed.
Turned it into Assassin's Creed. In more ways than one.
Yeah.
Do you ever play Assassin's Creed 1? Well, that literally happens in this movie when he cuts his own ring finger off. Like, come on. I like the franchise, but come on.
Yeah, they need to get back to the... And they can't now unless they do it in the fifth movie. If they're going to make a fifth movie. Because this last one set up a direct sequel
and they're
where
not
stuff's going to happen.
Because they're making... I mean, it's bothersome because I really, really like John Wick. they're not going to. They have the plans of doing the Continental TV show, which is going to just create more waves in the entire storyline of everything that's going on. Like, all right, maybe John Wick's going to have a cameo in there. I don't know how. Is he just going to be riding a horse in the background?
Yeah.
But like, you're just creating more complexity into a story that was perfect in the first movie. Yeah, we wanted a sequel, of course, because the first movie was so good. But then, you get a watered down version of something that takes away from your first experience.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always go back and just watch the first movie, but knowing that there's a second and third, it's like you gotta watch them.
Yeah, that captured a great story in the first one, and just the second and third one popped that bubble.
Right. I don't understand how anybody says that this is the best movie out of all the three. It's a good movie. It's a very entertaining movie. There's no way it's better than the first movie. They're crazy.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know. But hopefully you guys enjoy the movie. Maybe you guys share some criticisms with us. If you don't, let us know in the comments. We are more than happy to argue with you in the comments about it.
Sure.
So if you guys like the video, put a like on the video and subscribe to us here and follow us on our various social media outlets. They're in the description below. And when the fourth movie comes out, hopefully they rectify all the problems that we have complained about here and solve everything just for us. And we'll see you guys in the next movie review or another video.
See ya.
See you later.